Everyone, I'm Dylan with the Plus This support team. I'm Tier 1 support, so some of you may have worked with me here and there. Today, we're not going to be fixing problems, so I'm actually going to be showing you guys a new campaign that you can implement inside of your app. Today, I'm going to be building it out in ActiveCampaign, but this will work in any one of our 5 map programs that you can use. So Infusionsoft, Drip, Entreport, any one of them you can use this campaign. What we're actually going to be setting up today is a one-click registration campaign, but this time it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be set up entirely through SMS. So you may be thinking, why set this up with SMS instead of email? Well, the main reason is because SMS has an average open rate of 98% in the first 24 hours versus email, which has just about 20% in the same amount of time. So this is going to be great for increasing registrations with an SMS reminder built in as well. It'll increase attendance rates. This is going to be great for those of you who have a list of clients opted into your SMS list that you're trying to reach out a little bit more proactively. Those of you who don't have an SMS list can still use this campaign by replacing the SMS messages with email elements. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to be starting out by building out all of our features in Plus This first, and then plugging them into ActiveCampaign. This is actually going to be taking 7 Plus This features overall. We're going to be using 3 send SMS messages, 1 SMS sequence, a smart link, a Zoom registration, and a date calculator. First, we're going to start out with the smart link. So if you guys have used this before, you know this is a great tool for setting up scarcity and things like that, redirecting them to different URLs depending on conditions inside of their contact record or subscriber record. Today, we're actually not going to have too many conditions set up because this is only going to one URL. We're going to use this link to track whether the contact has clicked the link inside of SMS to then get them registered for the webinar. So here I'm just going to say thank you, because once they click on this link, it's assuming that they got registered for the webinar. So I just want to send them to a thank you page. And in here, I'm going to be doing my SMS webinar link clicked. All right. So that's all I want. I don't need to really add any condition groups. This is good to just set it as something arbitrary. Just so I'm going to be able to save the feature, I'm going to set it up for a specific date. I want this link to be clicked before my webinar start time. And in this example, it's going to be on the 29th is when the webinar starts. So I want them to click on it before that time. All right, once we've got that set up, we need to set up a fallback settings. Again, this is just so we're going to be able to save the feature. Here, I'm just going to send them to thank you as well. Actually, I'll send them to plusthis.com. Just in case if a friend gets this link when they shouldn't have, maybe they don't have their contact details in there, but we'll send them to a different URL because we don't have their information. So I'm going to call this feature SMS Webinar Reg Link. And I'll go ahead and save that. All right. Right now, I'm just configuring the features. I'm not going to actually do anything with these links quite yet. We'll be plugging all of that together once we get all of our features set up, and we can start plugging it into ActiveCampaign. All right, so the next feature we're going to want to set up is going to be our send SMS message. This is going to be the actual text message that is sent to the contact with that smart link, and they'll see that smart link, they'll click it, and that's what's going to get them registered. So here I'm going to say I want to send to their phone field. Perfect. I have a webinar coming up. Click the link below to get registered. I'll actually say hi first name as well because I want to make sure that this is custom to them. All right, so now I'm going to go back over to my configured features. The reason why I'm doing this is just so I don't have to go back into my features once I've got all these configured. I want to just have to set them up once. So inside of Smart Links, I'm going to the feature instructions page, and I'm just going to be grabbing that feature URL. Now you're going to want to use the bottom URL. This is usually used for ActiveCampaign emails, but this is going to be used for our SMS today. All right. So here I'll just paste in that link. Now, obviously, that's pretty long for SMS. You will actually be able to go to Twilio to shorten these links. You'll have to reach out to their support page, and they'll have an option for you to reach out to their support team, and they can get that shortened for you. All right. Once I've got that configured, I'm going to go ahead and give this feature a name. This is going to be SMS Webinar Reg Text. Cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go back to the feature library. We're going to be setting up another send SMS. I would also like to send my thank you through SMS as well. So same idea here. I'm going to be setting up for the phone field. And in here, I'm just going to say first name. Thanks for getting registered. We'll see you at the webinar. All right, same idea here. Just going to go ahead and give this one a name. This is going to be SMS Webinar Reg. Thank you. All right, with that set up, we're going to move on to our next feature, and this is going to be the actual feature that's going to get them registered for the event. Today, I'm going to be using Zoom webinar connection. You can use GoToWebinar if that's what you prefer. I just personally like Zoom, so that's the one that I'm going to be using today. All right, and this is no different. If you've set this feature up before, we're not doing anything different here. We're just going to be choosing which webinar we'd like to set up, where we'd like to store the webinar join link. Here, I'm going to say it's going to be SMS Webinar Join Link, and I'm going to apply an SMS registered tag. All right, as I scroll down more, I'm also going to be able to store the webinar title. So I'll do SMS Webinar Registration Title. And these are all fields that I set up prior to this recording. Obviously, you'll want to set these up either when you're configuring the features or before you get started creating this campaign. All right, I'm also going to want to store the SMS webinar start date time. This is going to be very important for when we're sending out the reminders later. We're actually going to be sending that reminder out as a SMS notification about 10 minutes before the webinar starts. We're also going to send them an email with the join link as well, so they can join from their computer. We're also going to have another sequence down below when they get registered, actually after the webinar is over, that's going to be using the attendee data. If they did attend, I'll send them something like a special offer, but if they didn't attend, I'm going to be sending them a text saying, hey, I saw that you couldn't make it. I'm sorry if it was a bad time for you. If you'd like, just reply with yes, and we can get you a replay of the webinar that you missed. The reason why I'm doing that instead of just sending it to them automatically is because I do want to make sure they're getting re-engaged with us before we give them that replay, because we don't want to set the expectation that you can just register for the webinar and then not show up and still get the webinar. We still want people coming to the live webinar. But if they reach out to us saying, yes, I would like that replay, we'll go ahead and send it to them. All right, so this is going to be SMS Webinar Reg Zoom. And this is just so I can keep track of these when I come back through to plug it back into Active Campaign. But we've got that one all set up, so we're good to go there. I'll go ahead and set up our next feature, which is going to be Date Calculator. So the reason why I'm using Date Calculator, if you're using Infusionsoft, you won't have to take this step, but with Active Campaign, it's not possible to do something like wait 30 minutes before the specific field. So I'm going to be using Date Calculator to calculate that out for me and store that in a unique field that I'll be using in the automation later. So here I'm going to say add, subtract a static number of months, days, hours, minutes, and I'm going to be subtracting 30 minutes from my webinar start date time. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to use that webinar start date time, and I'm going to use 30 minutes before it so I can shoot out that email with the webinar join link, and then I'm going to wait a couple minutes before I send them a text so I can be sure that that email is in their inbox so they'll be able to join us in that webinar. So here I'm going to say SMS start date time, and I'm going to subtract 30 minutes from it. All right, and I'm going to start with the date found in a field, and this is going to be SMS start date time. So again, this is the field that's being set by the Zoom webinar feature, and we're just going to be taking 30 minutes off of there, so it's 30 minutes before that date time, so then we can be able to send them the email with the webinar join link, as well as the reminder through SMS. All right, so this is going to be SMS Webinar Reg Reminder Time. All right, and with that, we've only got 2 more features that we need to set up. Next one is going to be another SMS message. This is going to be the one that's notifying them that the webinar is about to start. So here I'm going to do the same exact thing as the other 2. I'm going to be sending to their phone field, and we're going to say first name, the webinar is starting soon. You should have a join link in your inbox now. And if you want to be more specific, you can actually say something like the webinar title is starting at, and then we can merge in the date time that we stored with the Zoom feature. All right, you can also include the join link in this text if you'd like them to join in from their mobile phone. I would probably suggest having them join in from their desktop, just so that they get the full experience. They can send in their questions and all of that, and maybe have a little bit better service through there. But once we've got that configured, we'll just go ahead and scroll down here. Again, we're going to give this a name. We're going to say it's SMS Webinar Reg Reminder Text. Perfect. All right, and with that, we've only got one more feature that we have to set up, and this is going to be another SMS feature, but this time it's going to be SMS Sequences. Now, the reason why we're doing SMS Sequences, this is going to be used after the webinar is over. We're going to send them a text saying, hey, saw you couldn't make it. If you'd like a replay, reply yes, and we'll shoot that over to you. All right, so here I'm going to say, get started, what's your email address? And the reason why I'm doing this is because with ActiveCampaign, you do have to have an email through the SMS in order to get started with anything else. With other platforms like Drip or Infusionsoft, you won't have to have this first step, but since I'm using ActiveCampaign, I'll have to use their email address first. So I'll say, hey, I noticed you didn't come to the webinar today. Let me have your email address, and we can shoot over a replay. So with this, I'm going to say that them just giving me their email address is enough of them reaching back out to me that I can send them that replay. That's getting them re-engaged with us. They have to take an action before they can get that replay. In other platforms, you want to have something set up with a conditional where it's a yes or no. And I'll actually still show you how to set that up. But just so you're aware, for ActiveCampaign, I'm only going to be asking them for their email before they get that reply. So here I'm going to say, let me decide, and we'll add a condition if their text message has any of these replies. So let's say it's got yes, y. If it has yeah, anything that just indicates that the contact is saying yes, and if you include it between the asterisks, even if they say, yeah, I would like that, we see that yeah is in there, and we'll go ahead and apply the yes tag so that they can get that reply. All right, so in here, I'm going to be using my SMS not attended yes tag, and I'll shoot them down to don't send anything more, finish, because right after this, they're going to be getting an email with the replay. We're going to add in another tagging condition. This is going to be the same idea. If they reply with no, and nah, maybe, any of these, we're going to tag them with not attended no. So this is just saying that even though they did reach back out to us, they're not interested in getting a replay, so we'll just leave that out. All right, and we'll also send them down to don't send anything, finish. If they don't reply with what we're looking for, I'm just going to shoot them back up to that request email address. That'll kind of clue them in that, hey, this isn't an actual live person, this is an automated text message. Please reply with what we're looking for, and we can go ahead and help you out. All right, once I've got that configured, again, we're just giving that a name. So I'm going to say SMS Webinar Registration didn't attend. And with that, we are all set inside of +this, and we can go ahead and start setting up inside of ActiveCampaign. All right, before I do that, I'm going to go to my first feature, which was that SMS Webinar Registration link. So this is the text message that they're getting, that they click the link and they'll get the email on. So I'm going to feature instructions here, and I'm just going to copy this webhook. Not doing anything with it quite yet. We need to set something up inside of ActiveCampaign, but then we're going to be using that webhook. So here inside of ActiveCampaign, we're going to choose a trigger to start off this automation. This can be anything you'd like. If you want to have it started from a web form, if there are new contacts, you can do that. Just for ease of use, I'm just going to start it with a tag is added to their contact record, and that tag is going to be SMS Webinar Start. All right. From here, we're going to be sending out that first text message. So we're going to go to Conditions and Workflow, and we're going to post to a URL. And here's where we're going to paste in that URL that we got from Plus This. So again, to get there, you're just going to go to the feature instructions inside of Plus This. We're going to be grabbing that second URL, and we're going to be posting that directly inside of the webhook. All right, so now we're going to want to wait until the contact has the tag that they clicked the link. So I'm going to say here until specific conditions are met. And the condition is that the contact has a tag, and that tag is SMS Webinar Reg link clicked. All right, and we're going to put no time limit on there because, again, the smart link will check to see if they're clicking on that on time. If they don't click on it on time, they're going to go to my Plus This page and they won't get the registered link. So they'll just kind of be stuck up here in this step in the sequence. So now I'm going to send them a thank you text because I want to let them know that they are successfully registered. So this is going to be the second SMS feature that we configured. So I'm going to go back to Plus This, and we're going to be grabbing the SMS Webinar Reg thank you webhook. All right, so directly inside of ActiveCampaign here, same idea. We're just pasting in that webhook. Go ahead and save. Since this is just sending out a generic thank you, we don't really have to wait for anything. We're not waiting for the customer to do anything else. So at this point, we're going to get the contact registered for the webinar. So this is going to be another webhook. So we're going to want to run back to Plus This, and this is going to be that Zoom feature that we configured. Same idea, we're just going to the feature dashboard, and we're going to use the URL to create a registrant. And then back inside of ActiveCampaign, we can paste that URL directly in. All right, so this is registering the contact for the webinar. Since we're integrated with your ActiveCampaign already, this will pull over their first name, last name, email, all of that information over to Zoom. So when they join, we'll be able to tag them appropriately. At this point, we are going to want to be waiting until another tag is applied, and this time it's going to be the registration tag. So here I'm going to say wait until specific conditions are met, and it's going to be the same thing as before. We're just going to be doing wait until the contact details tag is SMS Webinar registered. Perfect. Same idea here. We're just going to wait until that tag is applied. We're not going to move forward until that tag is applied. But after that, we are going to use the date calculator. Now, the reason why we're doing the date calculator to calculate out 30 minutes before the webinar start date time after that tag is applied, since this feature is working off the date found in the field, we want to make sure that there's data in that field to work off of. Since we're waiting until that tag's applied, we can be confident that that field has been filled out and it's not going to try and calculate on nothing. So back in Plus This, we're going to go back to our date calculator feature that we configured, go to feature instructions, and we're just copying that webhook directly over to ActiveCampaign. All right, so at this point, the contact is registered for the webinar. They've got the start date time in a custom field, and we have moved over a 30 minutes before the start date time in a separate custom field. This is just for automation that we're going to be using a little bit later down the automation. So I want to give my webhook enough time to run. So I'm going to say wait for a specified amount of time. I'm just going to make it wait for 5 minutes. Since the webinar is probably going to be a few days or a few hours out, 5 minutes isn't going to be a big deal. So I'll go ahead and click save. So next we're going to be waiting for the contact to reach that specific goal that we set earlier, and this is going to be the 30 minutes prior to when the webinar is going to start. So here I'm going to select a goal, and this is going to be 30 minutes to webinar, and then I'm going to add that goal. So in here, I'm going to type in webinar start date time, and we're going to use the 30-minute field. Again, we want to make sure this is the 30 minutes because we want to send this out before the webinar actually starts. Otherwise, they may not be able to join at the right time. So I'm going to wait until the SMS webinar reg start date time is the current date exactly, and then we're going to keep moving through the automation. So once we reach the 30 minutes to webinar goal, we're going to be sending the contact and email, and this email is going to have the webinar join link. I'm not going to take up too much time configuring this. This can be anything you want that email to look like, but I'm just going to show you there's going to be an email here, just not going to actually configure it today. All right, so this is going to be email with join link. But for our uses today, all we need to know is that that email has the join link that was stored by the plus list feature earlier. All right, so then we're going to wait for a few minutes. And I'm going to say I'm going to wait for, let's say, 10 minutes. I want to let them know about 20 minutes before that the webinar is starting, so they've got enough time to sit down, get to their computer. If they need to put things on hold so they can get to the webinar on time, we want to give them plenty of time to get over to where they need. So I'm going to wait for a specific amount of time. So for about 10 minutes after the email is sent with the join link, we're going to be sending the contact the third and final send SMS message webhook. All right, so we're going to go back to plus this, go over to our configured features, and this is going to be the SMS webinar reg reminder text. So feature instructions, again, we're just copying that URL. We'll go back to ActiveCampaign, paste that URL in, and they'll get a text saying, hey, the webinar title is starting at webinar date time. Make sure that you join. You've already got a link to join the webinar inside of your email. All right, so from here, we're actually going to be waiting until after the webinar before anything happens. So we're going to wait until either one set of conditions is met or another condition is met. And this is going to be looking to see if the contact attended or didn't attend the webinar. So in here, I'm going to be looking for the contact details, tag, and this time we're looking for SMS webinar reg attended. Perfect. All right, and we're going to add a new segment group because we do want to split these people off depending on if they do or do not attend. So I'm going to add a new segment group, and I don't care if they meet either of these. I just want them to meet one of them. So I'm going to do or, and this is going to be the same thing, just going to contact details, tag, and then we're looking to see that they did not attend. Not attended. Perfect. All right, so from here, we're going to actually set up a conditional. And this conditional is looking to see which one of the two tags that they have applied. So in here, I'm going to set up an if else. And we're going to use the same exact conditions that we used before. Actually, we're only going to be using the attended tag because that's all we really care about. Because with ActiveCampaign, it's either a yes or a no. So I'm just looking to make sure that the SMS webinar attended tag exists. Okay, and since we're looking for both conditions, they'll move through here. It'll only move them down to yes if they've got the webinar attended. If they don't, we're going to shoot them down to a different sequence. All right, so since they did exactly what we wanted them to, they attended the webinar, they were there the entire time. Down the yes track, we're just going to send them a short little email saying something like, hey, thank you so much for coming. You can configure another SMS text here saying the same thing. If you've got an offer you want to send that contact, this would be a perfect time as well. But for me, I'm just going to send them an email saying, hey, thanks so much for coming. Keep an eye out for events we have coming up in the future. Same idea here. I'm not going to take too long with you guys and actually write out the email. I'm just going to say thanks for coming so I know what it's supposed to be. And it's going to pull me away and I'll jump back. All right, so back on the no side of things. So if they didn't attend, we're going to go back into the cool automation. This is where our last feature, the SMS sequence, is going to come into play. So here I'm going to look in the conditions and workflow, and we're going to be sending them another webhook. So this is going to trigger off the SMS sequence that we configured. Again, for active campaign, we were only asking for their email. If they reply with their email, we'll send them the replay. If you want to add an additional step asking yes or no, you can do that. But for sake of time, I'm only asking the one question. But for other automation platforms, you can do the yes/no question right off the bat. So here inside of feature instructions, I'm going to be copying that feature URL. And this is just going to start immediately with the first message that we've got configured in that feature. All right, so here, assuming that I did set it up that I'm looking for a yes or no, I'm going to do the same thing that I did up here, looking for the attended or not attended tag. So I'm going to wait until either one or the other condition is met. So either they replied yes or they replied no. So here I'm going to say until specific conditions are met, and it's going to be the same idea. So I'm going to do contact details, tag, and this is going to be SMS Webinar Reg did not attend, but they got yes. All right, and I'm also going to add a new segment group. Same idea here. We're just looking for either or, so I'm going to look to see that they replied no. So here I'm going to be looking for another tag, SMS Webinar Reg not attended, no. Perfect. All right, and this is going to be the same idea as our last conditional. We don't care how long it takes them to get here. We're just looking to see if those tags are applied. So we're going to just tag another if else. And this condition is going to be same idea. We're just looking to see if they do have that yes tag or not. Non-attended, yes. Perfect. All right, so now if they replied with no, we'll just stop the sequence. They don't want to move forward, so that's totally okay. If they reply with no, we'll send them through in this automation. If they reply with yes, though, this is going to be another email that we're sending them that has that replay link. All right, and again, we're only sending these to people who reach back out to us. They did confirm that they want that email. If they don't, we'll just end the automation. But here I'll say email with replay link. And again, I'm not going to take you guys through building out the email. I'm just showing you what's going to be here inside of the automation. All right, once we've got that configured, we just have to end the automation at the end of both of these sequences. So here I'm going to say conditions and workflow in this automation, and then up here at the left in this automation. All right, but that's pretty much it. So I know it does take quite a few features, but it should be pretty easy to set up. Just to go over one more time what we're doing so you guys get an overview of it while it's all built out. The contact is going to enter the automation through a tag or a web form, whatever trigger you'd like to use. We're going to send them an SMS with a smart link. When the contact clicks on that smart link, it's going to apply the tag SMS Webinar Reg link clicked. From there, we're going to send them a thank you message, and we're also going to get them registered for the webinar. At that point, we're waiting until the webinar registration tag is applied, and then we're going to subtract 30 minutes from the date time that field is storing. Once it's 30 minutes until the webinar starts, which is this goal here, we're going to send them an email that has the webinar join link because we want to make sure that they have that before we notify them that the webinar is about to start. Down here, we'll send them another text that says, hey, the webinar is starting in 20 minutes. Check your email for the join link. After that, we're waiting until the webinar is over. So we'll wait until either one of two conditions are met. We're either looking to see if the contact did attend or did not attend. And depending on which one they did, they'll be shot down two different paths. So if they did attend, we'll just send them a thank you for coming or maybe an offer email. If they didn't attend, we're going to be sending them down an SMS sequence, asking them if they'd like a replay. If they reply with yes or no, we'll still move them down to the conditional. If they replied with yes, we'll shoot them an email with the link. If not, we'll go ahead and end this automation. All right, so we are all set today, guys. I hope that this campaign will be useful for you. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Plus support team, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks. Have a good one.